not, we run, skip with the flow, feeling the rhythm, the bounce, jamani, wacha kulala, changamka kiasi, haya basi, up and away we go, from the bottom we rise, look at the light in the eyes, see it, believe it, I see no lies, fast though. Ready or not, we run, skip with the flow, feeling the rhythm, the bounce, jamani, wacha kulala, changamka kiasi, haya basi, up and away we go, from the bottom we rise, look at the light in the eyes, see it, believe it, I see no lies, fast though. Ready or not, we run, skip with the flow, feeling the rhythm, the bounce, jamani, wacha kulala, changamka kiasi, haya basi, up and away we go, from the bottom we rise, look at the light in the eyes, see it, believe it, I see no lies, fast though. Ready or not, we run, skip with the flow, feeling the rhythm, the bounce, jamani, wacha kulala, changamka kiasi, haya basi, up and away we go, from the bottom we rise, look at the light in the eyes, see it, believe it, I see no lies, fast though. Ready or not, we run, skip with the flow, feeling the rhythm, the bounce, jamani, wacha kulala, changamka kiasi, haya basi, up and away we go, from the bottom we rise, look at the light in the eyes, see it, believe it, I see no lies, fast though. Ready or not, we run, skip with the flow, feeling the rhythm, the bounce, jamani, wacha kulala, changamka kiasi, haya basi, up and away we go, from the bottom we rise, look at the light in the eyes, see it, believe it, I see no lies, fast though. Ready or not, we run, skip with the flow, feeling the rhythm, the bounce, jamani, wacha kulala, changamka kiasi, haya basi, up and away we go, from the bottom we rise, look at the light in the eyes, see it, believe it, I see no lies, fast though. Ready or not, we run, skip with the flow, feeling the rhythm, the bounce, jamani, wacha kulala, changamka kiasi, haya basi, up and away we go, from the bottom we rise, look at the light in the eyes, see it, believe it, I see no lies, fast though. Ready or not, we run, skip with the flow, feeling the rhythm, the bounce, jamani, wacha kulala, changamka kiasi, haya basi, up and away we go, from the bottom we rise, look at the light in the eyes, see it, believe it, I see no lies, fast though.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for making time to join. Okay, let's take that again. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for making time to join me today. Hope you had a good day, and I'm hoping to make it, a good conclusion. Today's topic discussion is user interface design in the age of AI-powered experiences. My name is Njeri Mugure, and I'm a product designer at Marathon. The photo on your screen is a good representation of me on most days. What's in the cup? I hear you ask. That is black tea, no sugar. I think a good place to start today is explaining or describing where we got this topic from. And I'll start by saying that I did not deliberately set out to discuss about this. I was doing some reading on a few topics to gain personal clarity on a few things. And top of that list was AI and where my role is as a designer going forward. When I go to Medium, for example, and you're reading from different designers what they think will happen going forward, there's the doomsday scenarios. The field is done. We have no place. AI is all knowing. So we are done for. Then there are those with a more optimistic view of where we are going and our role and how that may evolve. Now, I was coming from this, or at this, from a point of ignorance. I was, yeah, by and large, I was ignorant about AI, what it is, where I've encountered it, all that. But like any other field of knowledge, once you start learning, it compounds, it grows on itself. And so this is me through this presentation coming up for air to tell you what I found out. And hopefully it can spark conversation. It can uh, maybe inspire you to read more on your own, and then you can tell me what you're learning, what you're finding out about your research and product design, particularly UX UI is going. And why I thought of interfaces is because, especially as it pertains to digital experiences, UI is how we render intent. We do all this background work to define navigation, architecture, layout, accessibility, all these ideas. But the interface is the representation of all of that. And I don't believe, from my reading, that AI on its own will be the solution. AI is meant to enhance the best of what human beings can do. And I think that's the approach that we will take going forward. So, the structure of today's discussion is discussion a bit about AI, what it is, where we've encountered it. We'll discuss interfaces, where they came from, what role they serve, and where we think that's going. And then we'll bring them together to discuss emerging trends and how we can fit into this whole picture. So, and I think I found a quote which just really brings together everything that I was going through as I was trying to get clarity, and I'm going to share it with you now. It's from Marie Curie. She was a physicist, chemist. She won a Nobel for both fields, still the only person to do that. And the quote is, "Nothing is to be feared, it is only to be understood. And now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less." So this presentation is an exercise in that, and I hope you can come with me as we tackle this topic. So let's get going. And we'll start at the beginning. So what is artificial intelligence? Which I also found out in Swahili is called akili bandia. Akili meaning mind, bandia meaning artificial. So artificial mind. And I think Swahili is such an efficient language because that is exactly what it is. AI is a discipline like biology, like physics, and it's a branch of computer science. And it concerns itself with creating systems that mimic how our brains work. Our brains, among other functions like holding memory, they recognize patterns, they process language, and they solve problems. So, in a broad sense, any system that can achieve these kinds of functions, these brain functions, is known as artificial intelligence. But it is a branch of study. And like any branch of study, it has several sub branches: computer vision, expert systems, natural language processing, neural networks, robotics, machine learning, fuzzy logic. I won't go into the definitions of each, but each sub-branch has its own expertise. And it's only when you combine the sub-branches and the expertise that you create the kind of useful AI products that we have now. So for example, when you combine computer vision with machine learning, you get facial recognition, which has been applied to mass surveillance, but it's also useful for unlocking your phone. When you combine natural language processing with deep learning, you get large language models such as ChatGPT, DeepSeek, you name them. When you combine robotics or the expertise of robotics with machine learning, you get self-driving cars. And so all these branches or sub-branches rather are developing independently, but you harness them together to create products like this. In 2022, where ChatGPT was launched by OpenAI, and for many people, myself included, this was the first time that we saw tangible value or tangible interaction with artificial intelligence in very useful ways. At work, summarizing documents or crafting messages, all the many ways I know many of you, if not all, who are watching have used ChatGPT. But we need to remember that AI has always been here and it's in products that you use every day. So, for example, any system that relies on recommendation, content recommendation, Netflix, YouTube, Spotify, that uses machine learning or rather AI models. Maps and routing on Google Maps uses AI. Voice assistant tools use AI. Though limited in the responses that they can give, they all use AI to make your experience as pleasant as possible. And these are called specialized models, meaning they perform one task extremely well. So the model that is good for content recommendation cannot be used well, or it would be useless in the context of a voice assistant, and vice versa. And this has been the layout, or this is how AI is laid out in such an experience. So we have you have your product interface. In this example, you're using Netflix. You log into Netflix, you have a host of shows that are recommended to you, or this is where you dropped off, continue watching, etc. We have the product backend, and then we have a model working with all the content that is housed in Netflix to give you recommendations that are relevant to you to help you discover things that match your likes. So AI is all the way in the back. And that's why you may not really think that it's there, or I didn't really think actively about the role that it's playing. But we also have another subset of AI models that are now all the rage, all they're all over, you're interacting with it one on one, such as, and it's in the name, generative models. So once they learn, they're able to generate new content. So on Midjourney, you enter text, you describe what you want, the output is an image. On Claude, which is like ChatGPT, it's text for text. On Sora, you enter text to generate a video. And the layout for that is you on this end, the tool interface. This can be anything like what you described, Midjourney, Sora, Claude, and the AI model. So in this case, or in this layout, AI is the product. It's not working behind the scenes to optimize another experience. you're interacting with it one-on-one. So these are the two ways that AI has been implemented, especially on consumer products that involve an interface. And in the case of something like Netflix, I have no doubt that they'll continue to optimize their recommender systems, their machine learning algorithms. But I also foresee a case where, as generative AI becomes better and better, they'll also integrate that into your experience. So, for example, if there's a show you liked and you didn't like the ending, you'll be able to query Netflix and say, I didn't like the ending. This is what I would have wanted. Make that for me. Or if Netflix really understands your preferences, then they'll be able to generate shows that are unique to you. They're only found on your account. It's all your quirks, your preferences. If you're into adult animation, then something unique for me. If you're into soaps, something unique for you, etc. So that is the direction we are going. But it's important to create that distinction that there are two ways. There's the machine learning way to optimize an experience, but there's also the generative AI way. Now, let's put AI aside and think about interfaces for a while, where they came from, how far we've come, and what role they serve. So, in the 70s, going into the 80s, as computers were getting smaller and smaller and the use cases were becoming clearer, the personal computer was developed, which is the image on the left. But there was a challenge. How do we make these systems accessible to everyday users who are non-experts? Because remember, before, computers were in labs or in very technical and specialized fields. And early personal computers had the kind of interface again that you see on the left. It was all about commands, long lines of commands to achieve very basic functionality. And this was a problem because, as I said, you want non-experts to use these systems. So the field of human computer interaction was born. And they also introduced graphical user interfaces. So that's where UI comes from. So how do we, so the high-minded ideals are, how do we get non-experts to use these systems? How do we make them understand what's going on with the computer? And the image on the right is an early UI from Apple. And you start seeing ideas taken from everyday life, like skeuomorphism with the folders and the disk, the floppy disk. You know that in real life, a folder holds, you stuff your documents. So when you come here and you see an empty folder, then okay, so that's where I'd put things. A floppy disk means to save. Though that's lost to younger people now, but wazee hukumbuka. So that was skeuomorphism and simple language, accessible language to get non-experts to start using computers. So that was the 80s. Then in the 90s, interfaces or the development was we now have the internet. We have non-experts using computers, and now those computers are interconnected. So how do we get people to use the internet, to navigate safely? How do we, so ideas around things like safety. How do you make people understand this is what you can share, this is what you shouldn't share? How do we keep away bad actors, pedophiles, scammers, etc.? So on a high level, that's what human-computer interaction people are thinking about. But on the interface, and what you see on your screen is an early screen from eBay. You start seeing ideas like navigation. How do we make you understand where to go and what to find? How do we label things? How do we create hierarchy? How do we use color? How do we make you know that this is a link that is active and it will send you elsewhere. And these ideas have rolled on, and today they're the standard. But that was the challenge: access to information and getting people to connect to each other safely and to surf the internet safely. Another milestone was in 2007 onwards with mobile design. And the difference here was the smartphones from that era onwards no longer had the keypad, the clickable keypad. So it was all touch and the screens were small. So the challenge was, how do we design for this new way of interacting with a screen where it's all touch? And how do we lay out information in a way that it's easy to understand? It's clear what elements are we using. And yeah, so those two things, touch and simple, clear interfaces. But also, this came together with the concept of responsiveness. So as you scale up and down screen sizes from your phone, tablets came along, laptops had been there. How do you make sure that your experience is seamless? That yes, you're scaling up or down, but you feel that you're on the same experience. So that was the challenge for designers. And now we take it for granted when we say we want to design something. It's it's assumed that you design for all screen sizes. So that was 2007 onwards, and it continues to this day. And in 2022 onwards, though as you said, AI has always been here, but as models become better, as generative AI becomes better, we now have to think about how to design with AI. And the interfaces of the future are adaptable, and we'll get more into that. So that is the challenge. That is where we are, and that is the direction we're going in going forward. So with those two covered, so we have a background with AI, and now with interfaces and their functions, we can now consider the way forward, or how we harness both, and understanding our role, or how UI design will change going forward. But I'll take you a bit back to the traditional, or the current dominant way of designing products, to really understand where the change is coming from. As a designer, what I do is provide an interface to support a particular functionality, avail this to you. You then interpret or learn to use what I've provided. Once you're done interpreting, you start using it. So, for example, in the case of a product like Spotify, the functionality I'm designing for is, how do we deliver millions of songs to at the tap of a button? So as a designer, what I have to account for is music catalogs, profiles of artists, and a way to pay for access to the platform, for example. But all the data I have to work with, I know ahead of time. So in the case of Spotify, I'll provide an interface that can play a song, save a song, shuffle songs, create a playlist, make payments, everything you'd see on Spotify, Apple Music, for example. I design this in as clear and as simple as way as I know how to. I avail this to you, you interpret it, you use it. After a while, if we get feedback or we want to overhaul how we do things, I'll then provide an update. You learn to interpret it afresh and use it. A lot of users sometimes drop off after there's an overhaul of an interface, because the relearning part of things is some users find annoying. But this is how, by and large, design has been taking place. And for this, we rely on widely accepted UX principles to establish an understanding of functionality. So something like predictability, consistency, hierarchy, and layout. And there are so many you can think of, but there are principles that have been long established that we rely on. So going forward, or the promise of artificial intelligence and how they'll embed in interfaces is that we will move from those static experiences that I described, the example, to experiences that are fully adaptive. What do I mean by that? If you don't like navigating page to page to find what I designed, you have 2 clicks to get to what you want. With natural language processing, you'll be able to type into the interface, find me a particular song or take me to a particular page on any experience you can think of. If the way you like to consume information is more imagery, less text, you can have that. Why? Because the system will be able to learn your preferences, to learn how you interact with the interface. If you like your shopping experience, you don't want to read, you'd rather look at photos, you'd rather than looking at the sizing chart, you want to try on your glasses, for example, through, I don't know if you've gone to a website where they tell you upload a photo of yourself and then try things on, for example. If that's your jam, that will be available to you. That's the promise. We are not there yet. There's, varying, what are they called? Varying, I'm losing the word, implementation of that. But that is the promise, fully adaptive to user needs. Because right now, all we can do for you is say you can change your photo, you can change color scheme here and there, and we tell you that's personalization. It really is not. But within the constraints that we work with, that's the most we can offer. But AI will get us there. So from rigid to adaptive interfaces, no longer one size fits all. And for this, we'll need to think about the standards or the high minded ideals that I said that guided human computer interaction. Remember, we need to keep humans at the center of everything. As I said, I don't believe that AI is here to replace us, it's here to augment how we work, it's here to enhance um, our understanding through processing huge amounts of data that will take us time as designers, as researchers. So, keeping the human being at the center is still critical. So, the next standards that we think about are need to keep transparency, adaptability, and user centricity at the top of mind. So, for the next part of the presentation, I had a few principles or ideas that I'm seeing implemented currently on a few interfaces that I've encountered, and I want to share those now to just get you thinking about where we are going. One is user control, which is an old principle from traditional design, but in this context, it's all about designing for adjustable AI assistance. I don't know if you use G Suite, you'll realize that Google implemented artificial intelligence tools to all our workspaces. You didn't opt in, which is problematic in its own right, but I won't go into that. But the idea, so for example, this is on email, and I was replying to a colleague, and AI offered some possible responses. I wanted to type my response to Emily, but Google provided possible replies unobtrusively. So they're within sight, but I was not forced to use them. I could as well take any of what they've provided and edit that. So I'm still in control. The tools are there. I may choose to use them, I may not. So I think this is good implementation from Google. And it's important so that there's a concept called reactance. When you feel that your personal choice is being taken away, you tend to react very strongly. So I think that's what they're guarding against. And I think this was very good implementation. So that's one, user control. Two is explainability. AI often has what's described as a black box problem. You know the inputs going in and you see the output, but in the middle, you don't know what's going on. How are they coming up with their responses? How are they coming up with their recommendations, for example? So explainable AI is critical. We need to visualize AI's thought process, or why are you arriving at what you're telling me. You see it on Netflix, for example, where they tell you, because you watched this, we recommend this. That's explainable. You can see it's based on what I consume. And Amazon have done it really well as well, where when you land on a listing, they have a default value that they're recommending that you purchase. In this case, it's a skirt, and the size that they're recommending is extra large. Why? Because they think it will fit you best based on millions of orders, returns, and reviews. But as you can see, the size guide is still within view. So you can as well ignore what AI is recommending and go to the size guide. Or if you know you are a medium, then you can pick that as well. But they explained why. And this is critical if you're going to build trust. So explainability. Third is clarity and simplicity. We want users, or people who use our interfaces, to see just enough of the work that is going on in the background so that they can appreciate it. But we don't want to overload them. I'm forgetting the principle, but there's a principle for showing your work. It escapes me. I don't know, but I think in people watching, I know you know what I'm talking about. So again, this is from Amazon. If you've visited Amazon or a site that has millions of customers, and if you're like me, what I do is I go to a listing, I look at the 5-star ratings and the 1-star ratings, and then in my head I'll try and work out a baseline of what I can expect based on what would be the best, what would be the worst, and I spend a lot of time going back and forth and making up my mind if this is what is best for me. So what Amazon have done is created at the top. When you start reading through reviews, they give you a mega review. One review of what customers are saying. So in this case, it was a silk pillow. They say this is what customers are saying. They find it smooth, comfortable, etc. And then, of course, they tell you that it's AI generated. And at the bottom, they give you keywords that have been used in all the thousands of reviews that they've passed through. This is NLP and machine learning. And you're free to go to any one of those. If you want to read about value for money, softness, washability, etc. So this is a lot of work going on in the background to review all those kinds of, or rather all those reviews, but it's presented in a very simple way, very digestible way, but you're still free again to go and do what I usually do, or what I usually used to do, which is read the reviews for yourself. So that's clarity and simplicity. And lastly, there's feedback. Especially now, because it's still early days, these systems are still learning and they require feedback to know, do you like the output? Is there anything to improve? And this is reinforcement learning. So the top left screenshot is from Figma. they have some AI tools that they've added to the platform. And when you use it, at the end, it tells you it's done and how does this look? Do you like it? Do you not? And this will be used by the engineers to tweak the model. And the thumbs up, thumbs down is a design pattern that I'm seeing a lot. It's very simple. It's from social media, so you've seen it a lot. But the screenshot, the left bottom is from Chat GPT. Again, that's thumbs up, thumbs down. And on the right, it's from Claude. They allow you to like type in what you think is wrong with the response. So feedback, it's critical. Again, as you said, we need to refine outputs. It's also part of establishing trust and understanding. So those are some of the principles I'm seeing. Many others are coming up. And maybe now that you know what to look out for, that you can start to think about more that you're seeing. As far as interface elements go, it's still very early days. And that's why I say it's a good time to be a designer. It's a good time to be a researcher because we are now inventing the future. Lucky for us, or in my case, I missed every other UI revolution. I was not there for the 80s. I was not there for the internet. I was not there for Steve Jobs. But I'm right on time for AI. And what we'll be doing going forward is not designing static interfaces. As I said, we will be anticipating user needs and thinking of ways to provide that to the system so that they can give you the kind of experience that you want. Still require a lot of research with users to see how they're currently using AI, to find use cases and ways to add artificial intelligence into everyday experiences. So it's an exciting time. And yeah, so that's me. I think happy that I was able to resolve what my role would be going forward. And I hope it's the same for you. So I had a number of sources for today's discussion. I will link this to or rather post this on LinkedIn for those who are interested. And yeah, there's so much to read, there's so much to learn. The field is moving so fast. I just got to grips with machine learning and deep learning, and now they're talking about agentic AI. I don't know, and people don't even agree on what the definition is. It's exciting, and I'd encourage you, as I said, to dispel fear, just seek understanding. And I hope that today's discussion has been helpful. I'm very grateful for your time, very grateful for your attendance. I land it there. Thank you to Emily, who is in the room, for the setup, for the intro. Thank you to Marathon for the platform. Wish you a good evening, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.
With the flow, feeling the rhythm, the bounce, remind me, wacha kulala, changamka kiasi, haya basi, up and away we go, from the bottom we rise, look at the light in our eyes, see it, believe it, I see no lies, Ready or not, we run, skip with the flow, feeling the rhythm, the bounce, remind me, wacha kulala, changamka kiasi, haya basi, up and away we go, from the bottom we rise, look at the light in our eyes, see it, believe it, I see no lies, Ready or not, we run, skip with the flow, feeling the rhythm, the bounce, remind me, wacha kulala, changamka kiasi, haya basi, up and away we go, from the bottom we rise, look at the light